Where do you usually go when your family craves a scoop of ice cream? Walmart, Kroger, or maybe Costco? For most Americans, it's one of life's simplest joys. The bright aisle, the colorful tubs, the promise of something sweet after dinner, all too easy to trust. But don't let that glossy freezer light fool you. Many of the biggest grocery chains, no matter how established, quietly sell ice cream loaded with corn syrup, gums, and emulsifiers, the kind that makes a scoop last a year but tastes like air. Others stretch cream with vegetable oils or whip in so much air that half the pint is nothing but frost. It's not about a color or flavor. It's about intention, how comfort turned into chemistry, and how we kept buying it. So stay with me till the end, because right now we'll uncover 5 grocery stores you may want to avoid, and 2 that still keep the meaning of ice cream alive. One, Walmart. Let's start with one of the most well-known chains in America, Walmart. For millions, it's where comfort lives in cardboard tubs and freezer doors hum like old lullabies. The blue label, the low price, the easy trust. You reach for great value because it feels safe, familiar, and American. That's exactly why the news hit so hard. In June 2024, a national listeria recall pulled dozens of frozen desserts from freezers across the country, and Walmart's supplier was among them. For the first time in years, shoppers opened their refrigerators with hesitation. They read labels they'd never looked at before. And what they found wasn't cream and vanilla. It was a chemistry set, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate, 80-carrageenan, and corn syrup, solids, a formula built not for flavor but for endurance. The truth is, great value ice cream isn't made to melt in your bowl. It's engineered to survive the supply chain. Each stabilizer adds another layer of control, fewer ice crystals, longer shelf life, smoother scoop. But the cost is invisible. Air whipped into the mix replaces density. Vegetable gums replace the creamy texture that used to linger. The taste fades faster than the chill, leaving a thin sweetness that feels like memory watered down. Customers began to notice. It used to coat the spoon, one retiree said, now it just slides off. Another woman wrote online that her tub tasted like vanilla perfume trapped in snow. These aren't complaints about safety, they're confessions of disappointment. For decades, Walmart sold affordability as belonging the idea that everyone deserves a treat. But this time, that comfort came with a quiet cost and erosion of what ice cream used to mean. Inside Walmart's distribution system, efficiency is gospel. Products travel hundreds of miles, often stored in mixed freezers, cycling through defrost and refreeze. To survive that journey, the recipe changes. More stabilizers, less milk fat, fewer eggs. Add just enough synthetic vanilla to keep it fragrant and the illusion is complete. The tub looks the same, the scoop holds shape, and nobody notices until they do. After the recall, Walmart reassured customers that safety was restored. And perhaps it was. But the damage wasn't microbial, it was emotional. The recall cracked open a freezer of questions. When did affordability start tasting like absence? When did value become another word for void? For many families, the aftermath wasn't dramatic. They still buy it, still serve it on birthdays and hot afternoons. But something changed. The moment you have to check the label of a brand you once trusted blind, a bit of innocence melts away. What used to be joy turns analytical. What used to be simple now requires a choice. And that's the heart of it, not outrage, just quiet awareness. Walmart didn't betray anyone. It evolved into the perfect mirror of our habits, speed savings, and shelf life over substance. The cream became thinner because our patience did too. Cold lasts long, but flavor leaves early, and that's the real loss. Next, we move to Kroger, where the illusion of deluxe takes the same story and wraps it in gold foil. To Kroger, most tubs of Kroger's so-called deluxe ice cream list the same ingredients you'd expect from a frozen chemistry set: corn syrup, solids, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate, 80 cellulose gum, and carrageenan. And here's the quiet detail. Most people miss several of these products aren't legally ice cream at all. Under FDA rules, that title belongs only to formulas with at least 10% milk fat. Anything less falls into a lower class called frozen dairy dessert. In plain terms, it means this part of what used to be cream is now air, sugar syrup, and stabilizers. The scoop feels soft, but the flavor is thin. The melt is neat, but the richness is gone. The science works, texture stays smooth. The surface looks flawless, yet the experience feels strangely hollow. This is painful because Kroger has built its image on family freshness and a touch of class. For decades, it sold the idea that you didn't need to be rich to enjoy something refined. The deluxe line played right into that promise. Elegant fonts, midnight blue lids, and flavor names like Midnight Reverie or Velvet Mocha Swirl whisper luxury, while the back label tells another truth entirely. Look closely and you'll see how the illusion works. The word deluxe isn't regulated. It's marketing, not measurement. Private selection sounds elite, but shares the same industrial base as cheaper lines. The gold accents on the carton catch your eye, not your palate. Even the shape of the tub, narrower at the bottom, creates the impression of weight when there's less inside. The product is literally designed to feel premium while costing pennies to produce. The strategy runs deeper than design. Terms like slow-churned, creamy, rich, or handcrafted have no fixed legal meaning. They evoke care and time without either being present. Behind the curtain, the process is optimized for throughput, continuous freezing machines, precise over-aeration levels, and additive balancing to hold shape under fluorescent light. The result? Predictable texture, minimal waste, and a product that looks like indulgence, but dissolves into thin sweetness after the first bite. By contrast, a true premium ice cream, the kind labeled super premium, relies on higher butterfat and lower air. It feels heavy on the spoon because it's real. Kroger's Deluxe avoids that weight. It wants to be eaten quickly, forgotten quickly, and replaced on the next grocery run. That cycle is the business model, the comfort of repetition dressed as sophistication. None of this makes Kroger evil. It makes it efficient. But efficiency is not flavor. And for many longtime shoppers, the discovery comes with a small sting. You start to realize that what's printed in gold might just be camouflage for what's missing: the depth of dairy, the honesty of cream, the satisfaction that lingers. The good news, you still have control. Flip the tub over. If the first ingredients read cream, milk, sugar, egg yolk, you're holding something closer to the real thing. If you see gum syrups and unfamiliar words leading the list, you're paying more for polish than purity. So the next time you reach for a deluxe treat, pause for a second. True quality never hides on the back of the label, and real indulgence doesn't need quotation marks. 3. Target. At first glance, Target's freezer aisle feels almost therapeutic. The lighting is gentle, the fonts are playful, and the names are irresistibly human. Favorite Day Market Pantry, Simply Joy. Everything about the display says comfort. It's a perfectly staged illusion of care. But beneath that cheerful surface lies one of the most precise, industrially optimized dessert operations in America. Most tubs share a near-identical formulation: high fructose corn syrup, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate, 80 artificial flavor compounds, and synthetic colorants, engineered for what the industry calls freeze-thaw resilience. That's the ability to survive long shipping routes, warehouse storage, and multiple temperature shocks without ever forming ice crystals or losing shape. It's the invisible line between homemade and manufactured. Food scientists have a name for this kind of product design-controlled rheology: the fine-tuning of flow and texture through chemical balance rather than natural fat content. Each stabilizer performs a specific task. Mono and diglycerides act as partial emulsifiers, letting oil and water coexist. Polysorbate 80 smooths out air bubbles to keep the mixture uniformly soft. Cellulose gum thickens water phases so the scoop doesn't collapse under heat. The result: ice cream that looks rich, feels silky, and can sit in a truck at 20 degrees for hours without harm. From a corporate standpoint, this system is brilliant. Each additive is cheaper than cream. By replacing a portion of dairy solids with stabilizers, and syrup manufacturers can cut ingredient costs by 30 to 40% per gallon. The mixture can also be over-aerated, a process called overrun, to double its volume without doubling its weight. A pint might feel full in your hand, but half of it is just air. When multiplied across millions of units, that air becomes pure profit. This is the logic of industrial desserts: consistency equals efficiency, and efficiency equals revenue. Quality becomes a variable, not a value. The more predictable the texture, the fewer customer complaints, the fewer refunds for freezer burn or odd texture. Supply chain systems praise smoothness because smoothness travels well. Every detail from formula to packaging shape is engineered to minimize cost friction. Target didn't invent this model. It perfected the presentation. By surrounding a mass-produced formula with modern packaging psychology, Rounded fonts, pastel tones, wholesome slogans, it converts process into emotion. Shoppers don't feel like they're buying chemicals. They feel like they're buying kindness. The design itself acts as insulation from reality. Experts call this effective branding, when products are built to trigger comfort first, scrutiny later. It works because emotion outpaces logic. A shopper sees Favorite Day Vanilla Bean, associates it with family and calm, and drops it into the cart before noticing that the bean flavor comes from vanillin, a synthetic compound derived from wood pulp. The entire transaction takes seconds. The profit margin lasts years. In truth, this system harms no one immediately. There are no alarms, no recalls, just quiet erosion of flavor, of trust, of connection. The ice cream melts beautifully, scoops easily, and satisfies just enough. But every spoonful teaches us to accept less. The dark side of modern convenience is not poison. It's indifference. The larger the brand grows, the less it needs to care. And somewhere in that equation is a small human moment that never makes it onto a spreadsheet. A mother pushes her cart through Target's bright aisle after work, the hum of freezers mixing with pop music overhead. She picks up a tub of Favorite Day chocolate fudge, smiles at the cheerful font, and thinks of her son waiting at home. She'll scoop it into his bowl, watch him smile, and never suspect that most of what she bought isn't cream at all. Just air syrup and the quiet genius of a system that learned how to sell sweetness without sincerity. The truth doesn't stop here, it spreads. In the next aisle, another familiar name takes that same system and pushes it further. Now we move to Safeway, where the pursuit of profit no longer hides behind design, it becomes the standard itself. For Safeway. It's sweet, but it all tastes the same now. That's how one shopper summed up her latest scoop of Safeway's Signature Select Vanilla. No anger, no outrage. Just a small sigh, the kind that carries more truth than any survey ever could. At first bite, it's perfectly fine. Cold, creamy, soft enough to glide off the spoon. It doesn't melt. It yields like satin under heat. There's a faint sweetness that feels rehearsed, almost predictable. Every scoop delivers the same smooth slide, the same mild aftertaste, the same mechanical neatness. Nothing sharp, nothing wrong, and nothing memorable. Across Safeway's freezer line, that sameness isn't an accident. It's engineered. From Vanilla Bean to Rocky Road, most tubs share the same base formula: mono and diglycerides, polysorbate 80 carrageenan cellulose gum. Food technologists call this formulation cloning, one master recipe replicated with flavor syrups and coloring. It ensures identical viscosity, consistent freezing curves, and predictable shelf behavior. In industrial terms, it's success. In human terms, it's sameness perfected. Experts refer to it as mouthfeel engineering, the science of controlling texture to deliver a uniform sensory reward. Those emulsifiers stabilize fat and water. Those gums hold shape under temperature swings. The texture remains flawless even after weeks in storage. You could open a tub from Portland or Phoenix and never know the difference. For a logistics manager, that's a dream. For a nostalgic soul, it's a quiet tragedy. Because it didn't always feel like this. There was a time when ice cream from Safeway carried little imperfections, a pocket of air, a faint shimmer of ice near the rim, the uneven smell of real dairy. Back then, the melt was slower, heavier, and somehow alive. Now the product feels timeless only because time no longer touches it. The cold stays perfect, the flavor stays flat, and memory slips away between spoonfuls. Some customers still defend it. It's convenient, it's cheap, and the kids don't complain, one father said. Others speak softer. It's okay. But it used to be better. They're not describing disappointment in the taste, they're describing the absence of surprise. When every bite feels the same, joy loses its pulse. Inside Safeway's production model, this uniformity is policy, not accident. Batch templates are printed in the system, identical ratios, standardized flavor bases, automated blending. What began as quality control has evolved into institutional apathy. No need for experimentation when predictability sells. The machine delivers reliability, but it also delivers numbness. And yet there's something haunting about that silence in the freezer aisle. Rows of tubs lined in military precision, humming quietly behind glass, each one a mirror of the last. You could close your eyes, reach out, and pick anyone at random. It wouldn't matter. They all promise comfort, and they all taste the same kind of forgettable. Maybe that's the point. In a world that values efficiency over emotion, Safeway's ice cream stands as a symbol of our trade. We gave up uniqueness for consistency, imperfection for stability, character for convenience. And long after the sweetness fades, something still lingers. Not flavor, not fragrance, but the faint ache of remembering when ice cream used to taste like Sunday afternoons, not systems. 5 Aldi. Aldi's freezer aisle looks modest, white light, short shelves, quiet air. The tubs are small, tidy, wrapped in red and blue labels that read Belmont or Sunday Shop. A family can fill the cart and still feel they've spent wisely. That feeling is the brand's promise. The promise holds because the math works. Each pint costs less than $3, almost half the national average, and it reaches that price through substitution. Mono and diglycerides, guar gum, carrageenan, corn syrup solids replace part of the milk fat that used to give ice cream its slow melt and heavy cream scent. Food science manuals call this yield extension, stretching a recipe while keeping legal composition. The same additives make the product stable after long storage and temperature swings. From a cost engineer's view, it's elegant. Stabilizers reduce the need for real cream by 30%, while cost-per-serving optimization software balances sweetness against ingredient volatility. The plant runs one base mix for dozens of flavors, changing only syrups and coloring. Every variation uses the same overrun ratio, the amount of air whipped in to lighten texture and double volume. That air, invisible and weightless, is what lets Aldi sell abundance at a discount. Taste tells the rest of the story. The first spoonful feels friendly light, clean, quick to please, but the flavor fades almost instantly, leaving only sweetness and chill. There's no lingering note, no trace of dairy on the tongue. For many, that's fine. It's not the best, but my kids love it, one mother said. Cheap and sweet, what more can I ask? Another shopper shrugged. I know it's mostly filler, but it fits the budget. These aren't complaints. They're quiet rationalizations. Aldi's strategy isn't deception, it's empathy engineered into economics. The store understands its shoppers, people balancing bills, still wanting a small treat at the end of the week. Each pint represents a compromise between price and pride. The company doesn't sell dreams like Target or prestige like Kroger. It sells permission to settle. And for many households, that permission feels merciful. Yet in that mercy lies a strange sadness. When good enough becomes habit, the senses dull. We stop expecting flavor to move us. We just hope it doesn't disappoint. The creaminess that once signified care now signals only efficiency. Even nostalgia becomes affordable. A father once described the taste best. It reminds me of the stuff we had when I was a kid, only lighter, thinner, like it's missing the reason it was special. That line carries the truth. Aldi's ice cream isn't pretending to be what it isn't. It reflects a world where simplicity no longer means purity, only survival. You finish a bowl and feel nothing much, no guilt, no joy, just the calm relief of having spent wisely. That quiet is the product's greatest success and its quietest cost. Good enough is never great, and that's where the freezer ends. After walking through the cold sameness of those aisles, something in the story begins to shift. Not all freezers hum the same tune. Somewhere beyond the price tags and pastel labels, a few brands still remember what ice cream used to mean: cream that melts too soon, flavor that lingers too long, and recipes that don't need translation. They may cost a little more, but they give something back: honesty, texture, and time. So let's leave behind the imitation comfort for a moment and step into the bright aisle where quality still speaks softly and means it. 6 Costco. Walk into a Costco on a weekend, and the first thing you feel isn't chaos, it's order. The store hums like a factory built for trust. Wide aisles, tall pallets, white light on stainless steel doors. Even the freezer section feels intentional. No flashing discounts, no rainbow of brands competing for your attention. Just plain tubs, stacked deep, carrying a quiet promise what's inside is worth the space it takes. That calm is no accident. Costco's entire model is built on discipline. Fewer products, stricter control, deeper scrutiny. Where a supermarket might juggle dozens of suppliers for one category, Costco narrows it to a handful and demands transparency from each. Every manufacturer signs a contract mandating ingredient disclosure, quarterly audits, and chemical stability tests that often exceed federal requirements. The chain doesn't chase variety. It chases reliability. Industry analysts call this philosophy quality through scale. Instead of trimming ingredients to save cents, Costco saves by trimming chaos. Limiting options allows tighter control over sourcing, logistics, and storage, ensuring every tub in every store meets the same dense, clean standard. It's how they keep premium ice cream at family prices, not through filler or air, but through efficiency that starts at the factory line and ends at the shelf. The store's freezers tell the story better than any slogan. Inside, you won't find marketing theater, just large, minimalist containers labeled Kirkland Signature. The ingredients are short enough to fit on your palm, cream, milk, sugar, eggs, vanilla. No syrup substitutes, no colorants, no invisible chemistry. Costco doesn't shout its ethics. It stacks them neatly row after row. Even the sensory experience feels different. The air here is colder, drier, quieter, almost respectful. When customers lift a tub, it's heavy, substantial, unpretentious. That weight says more about the company's values than any advertisement could. It's a reminder that Costco's success wasn't built on seduction, but on structure, a place where restraint is a form of respect. Economists like to point out that Costco's gross margins are among the lowest in U.S. retail, yet its customer loyalty is among the highest. The math is simple: trust compounds faster than profit. By cutting unnecessary additives, the company adds something less visible: credibility. Each product acts like a quiet handshake between the store and the shopper. We won't sell you what we wouldn't eat ourselves. Contrast this with the chaos of other chains. Walmart's scale without soul, Safeway's precision without warmth, or Kroger's pretense of luxury. Costco doesn't romanticize food. It restores its dignity. The cold storage here feels almost old-fashioned, closer to a well-run dairy cooperative than a corporate warehouse. Every decision from ingredient sourcing to packaging design circles back to one principle: simplicity can scale if you care enough to measure it. One former supplier once said, "Working with Costco is like working with a school teacher. Strict, clear, but fair. You can't cut corners, but you learn how to do better." That's the quiet culture behind the aisles. It's not glamour, it's governance. And that culture bleeds into every bite their shoppers take home. When you watch people leaving with carts full of bulk groceries and family-sized desserts, there's a strange sense of balance, abundance without arrogance. The store doesn't make you feel rich, it makes you feel safe. You trust that what you bought wasn't stretched, dyed, or diluted somewhere along the way. In a marketplace built on shortcuts, Costco's quiet order feels almost old-fashioned, proof that even giants can choose honesty over noise. And as we move forward, that integrity grows smaller but more personal. Because in the next aisle, another store turns this same principle into something handcrafted, warm, and human: Trader Joe's. 7 Trader Joe's. Actually, I like Trader Joe's. I usually buy ice cream there for my kids. It is not a slogan. It is a tired parent, keys in one hand and a little hand in the other, telling the truth. At first bite, the spoon slips in without argument. The scoop is soft, but not flimsy, cold, but not biting. A quiet dairy scent rises, first sweet cream and vanilla that smells like a kitchen, not a lab. The flavor does not explode, it blooms. It starts small at the tip of the tongue, then rounds out warm and steady until the last of it fades like a light dimming after story time. You notice the texture too, a gentle grain at the edge of the melt, tiny cues of small batch churn rather than industrial air. Nothing squeaks, nothing snaps, it just relaxes. Meanwhile, the store itself keeps the mood human. Hand-drawn tags lean into the pints like friendly notes. Chalkboard doodles point out seasonal flavors. A crew member offers a taste with the kind of eye contact you only get when someone is not trying to upsell you. The freezer doors open and close with an unhurried rhythm, more neighborhood cafe than national chain. It feels like people work here, not a strategy. By design, the ingredient lists stay short: milk, cream, sugar, egg yolks, vanilla extract or cocoa, sometimes fruit puree. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial dyes, no metallic glitter of colorants hiding in the fine print. And the price lands in the sweet spot, often around $5 a pint, enough to feel like a treat, not a bill. You can take 2 pints to a family dinner and still feel generous without feeling reckless. Service plays its part. If a flavor leans too sweet for you, a crew member will gently suggest another one and tell you why they like it, not a script, a preference. If a batch runs a little firmer than last time, they will nod, smile, and say, "Let it sit a minute, it opens up." This is retail as conversations, small courtesies that make food feel like a relationship again. Nevertheless, Trader Joe's is not a temple of perfection. The flavor range is intentionally narrow. You trade infinite options for personality. Seasonal pints can disappear for months, and when a hit lands shelves empty before the weekend ends. Batches can vary slightly because small runs mean shorter levers. That charming soft bloom one week may feel a touch denser the next. A few recipes skew sweeter than a purist would like, and not every pint is organic. None of this ruins the experience. It simply reminds you that craft has edges. In texture terms, what you taste is restraint modest, overrun enough air to carry the melt, but not enough to erase it. A butterfat level that coats without clinging. The melt lingers just long enough to leave a memory and not a film. You set the spoon down and realize there is no aftertaste demanding attention. The moment is over and it feels clean. As one shopper said while choosing between two simple flavors, it tastes like someone actually made it. That is the point. The ice cream is not loud. The prices are fair. The service is caring in the small ways that matter on ordinary days. You are not buying status or a story about superfoods. You are buying a quiet assurance that dessert can still be honest. In truth, what keeps families coming back is not a miracle recipe. It is the feeling of belonging to a place that remembers small joys are not small. A pint that fits a weeknight. A smile at the register that feels unforced. A freezer that does not shout, only waits. In the end, Trader Joe's does not sell nostalgia, it sells presence. A scoop that tastes like now soft, fragrant, and human at a price that lets you say yes without second-guessing. In a world chasing efficiency, Trader Joe's reminds us that flavor is still a feeling, and care never goes out of style. In the end, what we found wasn't a list of brands, it was a map of values. Every freezer, every label, every spoonful tells us what we've come to accept, and what we're still willing to protect. Behind the colors and slogans, there are companies that chase speed, and others that still honor patience. The difference isn't hidden, it's right there in the taste. And maybe that's the quiet beauty of awareness. Once you see the pattern, you don't need fear to guide you, just clarity. The world will keep selling illusions, but knowledge lets you walk past them calmly, knowing what's real. Because real food still exists, real care still matters. And for those who choose to notice, every simple meal, every simple dessert, becomes a small act of self-respect.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.